Man, expensive class, I'm paying $15. Sorry. It's not that much different than right?
It's really
For sure.
Welcome, welcome. This mic actually doesn't hook into the speakers, but it is connected to a recorder. I forgot the one cable required to get live streaming to work tonight. So, fortunately though, we do have this recording and that recording, and actually, I don't think we'll have the monitor recording really, we'll have the background, but a lot of this, yeah, we should have fun. Well, as people shuffle in, how about I just introduce the group, or reintroduce it after a few years of not being in this room. I mean, holy moly. Yeah, this is the PHP programming group, so no, I'm just kidding. This is SLCPython. If you are here for the PHP group, stick around. You're going to see some cool stuff. You'll realize you like programming again. So we've been around since what, 2014, February. We started in the back of Sugar House Coffee when I saw somebody with the Django admin page, and I was like, is that Django? Okay, let's start a meetup group. And so it turns out we started a meetup group that already existed but had not been going on. So then we kind of took it over. We met in Sugar House, and then we met in a few places, and then we met in this room. And then that pandemic that we were joking about at our meetup actually turned out to be a thing. And then we went to the library and had PyCon there, actually. We had a PyCon/meetup time, so that was fun. The library makes me fill out 6 different forms every 3 months, and I don't like filling out forms. So we're back here where I filled out 1 form once. And now it's a recurring meeting. We should be here pretty much the first Wednesday of every month, barring world events related to zoonotic plagues and barring anything. The other real barring would be July. That first week of July tends to be like vacation, and the first week of January is kind of similar. So we'll probably be the 2nd Wednesday. Yeah, but other than that, we should be back in the flow of things, dare I say. So yeah, welcome back. What I like to do is introduce the new folks, especially. So who's new here? Who's never been to a meetup, virtual or otherwise, for Salt Lake City Python? Specifically, Daniel, you get to introduce yourself, and I'll show you how.
Okay.
You get to say your name, what's occupying your time, or your occupation, or not, anyway, and then your favorite back to school memory. So yeah, I'm Faris. For some reason, I'm an engineering manager at Invite, which is a genetic company, and my favorite back to school memory is those like 5 subject college rule notebooks and finding just the right one. And yeah, I just love the smell. Maybe that's why I picked this as the topic. But anyway, Daniel, pick something less lame.
I'm Daniel. I do 3D technical art. Do you want us to pass the microphone around?
If you want to be in the video.
I'm cool.
Okay. I'm good.
And right now, my company does a whole bunch of NFTs. While people think they're dead, we're still doing a whole bunch, which is kind of fun. And then favorite back to school memory, the Panda Express here is exceptionally good.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what
I've never heard that about any Panda Express.
No, that's why it's a fond memory. I went to school here, so it's fun being back.
Awesome. Who else is new? So this gentleman with the Pabst Blue Ribbon t-shirt.
Hey guys, I'm Ben. I'm a front-end engineering manager at Octopus Energy. It's a utility company. And my favorite back-to-school memory is when you show up at class and realize you're not wearing pants. You think it's a dream, and it's not a dream. And that's it.
That actually happened to me once, but not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, say no more. We won't talk about any more walk of shames. Just kidding. Who else is new to the group? This gentleman, blue shirt. Ben.
I'm also Ben. I most recently worked as a truss designer, but I'm transitioning into software engineering. I'm going to school right now. And my favorite back to school memory is probably always getting a brand new pair of shoes for the new school year.
Nice. Classic. And then this gentleman, green shirt.
Name's Bill. I'm a data analyst for Arrive Health, so I've learned as a president map how your health insurance works. And my favorite back to school memory is getting to the cafeteria and the unlimited Mountain Dew and good times.
What school had unlimited Mountain Dew? Oh, BYU Idaho. Okay.
So I'm Drew. I'll introduce my friend Shadrach here. So our co-introduction is because the same thing occupies our time. So we co-founded a company called Filtra. And basically it's an automated career counselor for devs. So I heard a lot of people say they were lukewarm about their job. We can help you find the dream job. So, and since you're devs, you know, you're the builders of the world that we live in, you shouldn't have to settle. So anyway, I have some little cards I can hand them out when we're heading out. Favorite back to school memory. So this is super funny. I remember there was one year where the Livestrong bracelets were super big. I don't know if you guys remember that. So I acquired somehow like 20 of those, and I thought that it'd be cool to like wear them all at once.
Nice.
So I put those all on for the first day, and there's a picture of me going to school with like a big band of Livestrong bracelets.
Very nice. And now, those bracelets are, what, infants? Or anyway.
Yeah.
Did you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, Shadrach, like Drew said, we co-founded Filtra, and I haven't talked about that further, but, you know, my favorite back to school memory is kind of similar to Ben, just getting a new outfit, brand new outfit, right, like a few days before and wearing that, trying to show up, you know, impress some people, but, yeah.
Nice. Anybody else who's new? Cool hat. I think you're new. Also cool hat.
Me?
It's two subjects. No, wait, you've been at the last
Yeah,
one. George,
we
last
both
one.
been.
You both were. But you both have cool hats, so what to do? Anyway, who else was new? Oh, sweet. Good mix. Good mix. Okay, so since the AI to hire people is not, you know, state of the art quite yet, I'm going to do it manually a little bit. But first, we're going to do some community news. What we like to talk about is the Python ecosystem generally. The main thing that's caught my eye is just how much Stable Diffusion is like, whoop, why is everybody talking about this all of a sudden? So I started looking into it and decided to do a quick talk about it, / open format discussion, because I'm lazy and only put about 3 hours into this talk. So, yeah. Yeah. I keep saying yeah. Tired. So community news, anybody know did Amazon increase their price, or no? Is there a Python 8? No? Okay, well, that's fine with me. I mean, no news is good news. Sounds like a quiet August. People actually got stuff done. So, jobs, who's hiring? We like to talk about especially Utah-based, but remote is also an option. So if you know of opportunities around the valley, now is your chance to.
We're hiring, but not around the valley. We're remote.
That's
but
fine.
It's Becton Dickinson, it's a medical device company. So
Which company?
Becton Dickinson
Becton.
or BD.
Just
You just do BD. People know BD. But yeah, our data science team is looking for data scientists and data analysts, especially if you have healthcare experience. So if you are interested, let me know.
BD medical devices. Awesome, thank you. Who else knows of people around the valley looking, or remote? Nice. Okay. Who is looking right now for a new role, Python, PHP? What's up?
I still am.
Yes.
Jeremy?
Still Jeremy. Okay, good.
Yep. Sorry.
Do you want to introduce yourself, or should I just put Jeremy?
Sure. So, hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a really big fan of quantum computers. I've been practicing with Qiskit and Circ. Aside from that, I know Python and JavaScript. I'm mostly looking for like DevOps positions or like a data analyst position, but my math is kind of weak, so. But I learn really fast. I also say too much, you know, and yeah, I'm working on the confidence bit though, so one day I'll get it.
Okay. Who else is wanting free marketing broken up by me real time?
I'm not looking, but I kind of want one.
Okay, go ahead.
My name's Austin. I'm currently a chiropractor. So I'm trying to make that long leap to software engineering. I've mostly worked with Python in terms of like web development and backend stuff. So I don't have too much experience with like the data analytics side. Yeah, I guess I'd say I'm a lot too, so that's all good. I'd say my strength is definitely on the JavaScript-based side, but I feel confident with Python for backend type work as well.
Awesome. Austin, welcome. You're at the right place. Who else? Yes, awkward silence is the best. Okay, today's topic is going to be kind of generic. A couple things happened. I was almost done with the talk, and then got my kid home from daycare, and he does this thing where he jumps on the bed, like trying to get his energy out. Who has kids? Anybody have kids? Nobody has kids here? No wonder you have so much time. Jeez. But yeah, he fractured his little leg, so he's immobile for the next like 4 to 6 weeks. But he's a little trooper, so we got some people looking after him right now. But that meant that this talk isn't as fleshed out as I would have liked. So once again, we're going to turn into a group discussion kind of thing. I'm mirroring my screen here. I have a lot of notes. I've watched way too many YouTube videos on the topic. And I think I spent a good $40 on compute time because even though I'm going to show how you can run this on a laptop, this is like the bottom of the line M1 laptop right now. We're going to run it on this baby, and it's still going to work. So we're going to talk all about stable diffusion, but also I probably am not the expert in the room. So I'm going to need other folks to like jump in, swing around. We have another chair right here. You can sweep everything aside and put your laptop and be like, okay, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But if you really feel like that, you should definitely give a talk. So we'll talk about that at the end. But no, in all seriousness, community discussion, it's very new. We're all learning. And
super fun though.
It's very fun. It's actually a lot of fun. And then a little background of why I'm personally interested. I have a degree in cognitive science. I went to the U for 2 years, but they don't have that major. So I transferred to Simon Fraser University in Canada. And I studied specifically Picasso's Guernica to do the very first primordial version of a monotonically generating like art model off of Picasso's Guernica. Like, I think this stuff is fascinating. And then I went and did something completely different. And now, 10 years later, it's like all the hotness, and it's actually accessible. And I think that it's one of those times where we need to understand the technology because it might actually be dangerous. So it's kind of cool. So I feel like this is the right group of folks to have this conversation. So I'm gonna be sitting, but actively. I'll sit like a type A person at the edge of my chair, ready to answer questions. But yes, please shoot your hand up if you have other things. Just some quick housekeeping. All of the Etherpad is right here. It's a comment on the Meetup group. So if you want to follow along with that and all the links that I put in here, they're here. This gist I will now copy into the Meetup and into, it's right here as well. So it's already in our Etherpad. So yeah, let's jump in. Who has heard of machine learning? All right. Who thinks it's kind of scary? Me too. Because that stuff determines your credit report. So Who here's heard of art? Nice, see, we're already on the right track. Like, what a great audience. No, but in all seriousness, who's pursued a formal education in art versus science? My degree is a Bachelor of Art. Do not tell anybody because I like being an engineering manager, but yeah. So art is one of those things where we're constantly trying to redefine it as a species. Like, it even goes as far back as Aristotle, if you think about it. Like, he was trying to define what is color. Now we have like color scientists, right? Like, it's crazy how we can quantify things that we thought were not quantifiable. And, you know, it's what's also interesting is that we've entered a new paradigm of programming where things are not imperative. They're not 1, 2, 3. It's like, no, I have a shit ton of vectors, pardon my language, but I have a lot of vectors and I need to align them in a certain way using other vectors in a certain step, in a certain order. And also, you can't really do that on a CPU because the CPU wasn't designed for that. So let's throw it on a GPU, but also GPUs can only be manufactured in certain nation states right now, so there's a limitation on that. So every computation we do on it is expensive. Not to mention the fact that not only are these cards in short demand or in short supply, but they're also high energy using. There's some concerns, you know, we talk about Bitcoin all the time. This is actually useful, but it's still burning GPU time. It's still burning CO2 to get that stuff running. Maybe not the specific model, but somebody's going to run the model. I mean, there are a lot of considerations here, but at the same time, it's never been more accessible. I ran some of these examples just for fun on my phone last night in the ER to kind of calm myself, just like Pythonistas sitting in a room. Like, we'll see some of these. They're pretty cool. So, some previous examples that are worth noting that definitely have been hitting the meme space, especially during COVID. DALL-E 2, has anybody heard of DALL-E 2? Or DALL-E? Yeah. We actually had a talk during COVID virtual about DALL-E. We had a lot of text examples during that. We had somebody generate code using DALL-E. It was kind of a joke, but it worked. Yeah, check out that talk. Image gen, has anybody heard of image gen? This one's not as well known. This one's from Google. It uses a diffusion model as well. And we'll talk about what a diffusion model is very poorly because I don't have a full grokked understanding of it, but I have a sense of it now. And then stable diffusion. Now, who's heard of stable diffusion? And who saw me like change the talk name last night to stable diffusion? Or like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to, yes, okay. So it is definitely interesting. And what's interesting about it, I noted, other than the stuff that we'll talk about in a sec, it's a couple things. I dug into the paper. By the way, we're going to give away one of these poorly printed papers. And actually, who here's a U student? Any U students? Any BYU Idaho, or any university students at all? I shouldn't discriminate. Yes. And are you still at BYU Idaho? Sorry, I joked about it, but you know, once a U kind of. Okay. So we have a couple folks. I'll actually just give you these on your way out the door because they have two things. One is the entire 46-page paper with all the images, lovely printed, whatever. And at the end is a paper which I forgot to link here, but I will. But it is a paper I wish I read in university, and it is called How to Read a Paper. And it teaches you how to read a research article. Read this first, and then go through and read DALL-E 3 times, because when you read this, you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to read it 3 times. But I would highly recommend you do this for your own homework, and you'll probably be, you know, a college dropout making 6 figures in the next 2 months. Because if you can read this paper and understand what's going on in it, you probably have done like 90% of university. Don't really drop out, please. But in all seriousness, read at least the second paper in this on how to read a paper. But yeah, these two I will give to our uni students at the end. But yeah. So in this paper, there are a few things, and maybe I should actually open the PDF up because nobody wants to look at an image of this, so let me find it. And yes, I did start watching Brewster's Millions through not so legal means. Oh, you know what? I know why. Because I'm a new Mac user and I forgot that I airdropped it to myself. That's a new thing to me. So let me this under downloads. It's this one. Cool. So specifically, the page I wanted to show, and this is where I didn't have time to actually put this into slides. Where was it? Ah! Has anybody read the paper yet? Haha! No, I'm just kidding. You should though. Okay, here it is, page 4. Let's look here. Ooh, already skipped it. Here we go. Okay. Everybody see this okay?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to play with this a lot, and we'll dive into how to install the Python as kind of the even beginner Python thing of like, hey, like anybody can download this. But we're going to dig a little bit into the nitty gritty first so that we understand the general process of what's going on. Who has heard of a neural net? Who's implemented one? Okay, so a couple folks. So what's going on here, and all neural nets, it's basically you have like a vector, right? And you're just gonna make it point a specific way, but then you multiply that by a bunch of times to make noise in this case. And that noise is the diffusion. In this case, what's going on is we're gonna noise out an image, right? And we're gonna make it noisy using a series of steps that look kind of like the denoising unit, the diffusion process, but the other direction. And that diffusion process is going to say, there's a good image, but I don't have it in front of me because I didn't make slides, but it's going to make your picture noisier, noisier, noisier. There's a good visualization I'll find, but so imagine like, has anybody taken a really noisy image, like it's really dark and you see all the dots? Imagine that, but it's done in a specific set of steps through a neural net, in a series of steps that will be repeated on the way back. And what's interesting is if you could put this diffusion process and pre-compute it, you could put in, I think the author said it was $600,000 of GPU time into this side of things, and that saves all that compute time when you denoise it the other way. So the second side of it is when you denoise in the same way, you can also tweak the in-between steps. So by doing that, we can introduce like, not just dollies like, oh, I'm gonna say a wizard on a mountain. We can actually draw a really poor bitmap image of a wizard on a mountain, and it will use that as part of its noising compression algorithm, whatever, to build that space and representation. It also lets you do something called infilling, which we might have a chance to play with, but the demos, there's a really good demo on page 9. So how this works is they remove the subject here on the left, like just erase it and make it like black in the image. And then they say, diffusion, stable diffusion, like what's the result of this? So the export is here. So that's the result. As you can see, it's like they never appeared. Like KGB would have loved this, But yes, speaking of which, we will dive into this a little bit today because I got to use my philosophy minor at some point in my life. Okay, so awesome. Any questions or inputs from the audience so far before we dive into like, how the heck do I actually run this on my computer? Or any clarifications? If Dylan was here, he'd give me like 10 notes. What's up?
So, is this like something that's being added on to again?
So, the model that this is being run on and the code that is denoising are constantly being updated. The model that we talked about that they spent $600,000 on, that's like the teaser. Apparently there's another one that's coming out, and I keep saying they, make it the exact name of the group, Dream Studio, and then we'll dive into this a little bit. And I think I have one credit left on this one, so. Oh, another thing is-
You use Colab as well.
Yeah, I have a Colab. I have all of the notebooks and ways to do this, but yes, thank you, yes. Yeah. The TLDR is that the models that are being used are being updated, but also they are, how do you say, they're locked away. You have to log in to download them because of the potential societal impacts of this. They kind of want to keep track. The other thing is, if you use, say, this dashboard, I'm using Replicate. Their way to protect people from doing like really not so nice things with this model is to make everything public. So if I did something really bad, like people could report it. They can hit that report button and be like, yo, Faris is weird. Like that's, I did not want to see that dolphin doing things to that banana. So yeah, maybe that was too explicit for a group. But, let's keep going a little bit. Okay. So this is pulled from another 2-minute papers. Anybody see that video? It does an excellent job of explaining some of this. But these are the 5 points that they kind of centered on as to why, of all of the kind of AI stuff, this one's being spoken about more in terms of just trends. Excellent results, good results, excellent, I don't know. Like if you're into anime, this is much better anime. That was one of the things. It's free-ish, free. You can run it on your machine. Free as in beer. It's open source, including the models, which is nuts. Not even the safety part is like closed source. And we'll dive into that part of we might dive into that part of the code, because it's kind of interesting. Low compute requirement, we'll run it on this laptop. And extremely accessible, I run this thing on my phone, as I was saying. So we have this paper, I kind of talked about the paper. I would highly recommend everybody like find a copy and just read the subtitles, and if something looks interesting, or subheadings, and just dive in and start reading. Even if the math seems like a little intense, it's something you can look up a different paper to figure out the math. So forget about it and just look at the actual what the process was, because it's very interesting. Sweet. I don't have Dolly access right now, so I was going to run some examples against Dolly, but I ran out of time. But we will run stuff locally. So let's get this installed on your local machine. So what are the steps? It's fairly straightforward. Let me put this way. There's like a staple there. Right. Okay. Who is not familiar with the command line at all? Or doesn't like it? Everybody likes the terminal now? Sweet! 2022 is awesome! Okay, well, what you're going to do is you're going to clone this, and you're also going to need to make oh, here it is. Yeah, so Replicate actually has these full steps that we're going through, and we're going to kind of copy them. Python 3.10 is what you'll need. So let's play with that. How do I check my Python version? Watch, this is going to break. I don't have Python. Yes, you do. It's just Python 3 now. Homebrew is a great way to do this on a Mac if you're running a Mac. And then if you're running an M1 Mac, there is a very specific fork that you'll need to grab. But, oh, there's somebody who's stuck outside. Can somebody grab the door? Thank you. Where were we? Oh, okay. And then we're going to do a few things. We're going to make a folder called Stable Diffusion v1. And the reason for that folder is that we're going to do, you'll make a virtual environment. If you've not done this, stop me right now, because this is the beginner Python thing, but I think I can roll through it because everybody knows the command line. Pip install, brew install, get all that stuff ready on your machine. And the big, the big download, the reason you shouldn't do this on the Wi-Fi right now, is once you get a Hugging Face, and yes, that's the name of the repo, and I love it, Hugging Face repo access, just takes your email, go ahead and download that model, and then you're going to put it into that directory. And then you can run Stable Diffusion. So in this example, they made an orange. So I am going to do, well, I tried to do a cartoon Python wearing a cowboy hat and glasses in Wes Anderson style, and then my laptop decided that it didn't like that. So before, I did a juicy orange floating in space, like a planet. Copy that. That ended up being... this guy. On my laptop. Crazy. I mean, not the best example I've seen of stable diffusion though, but it's still nuts to me that I did that all offline, like on an M1, like a little airboat. Anyway, he's just a little guy, he's just trying. Okay, so that's how you run things locally. Any questions with that?
How long did the image processing take on the
Very good question. That one specifically took 20 minutes. Yeah, so a lot longer than running it online like we're about to. Other questions? Anybody want to see some more examples?
So is there like a specific way that you're supposed to give it the prompts that help with the image processing, or does it just kind of, how does the prompts work?
It is very much still a black box in a lot of places. So
it really depends on
yeah.
like the model, and it
Yeah.
also depends on like, because I was using a completely different diffusion model, so it would act differently depending on what you put in, because it's taking, like the different version that I used was taking text AI and then connecting it to an image one. So it really just depends on like what you're using, but I think it's kind of like keywords. It'll like scan the internet sometimes too.
This one's actually on a specific set of images that have been labeled.
Okay.
The other thing that they did when they were labeling it is in the alpha, they asked, I don't know all the nuances of how they accomplished this, but basically they asked alpha users, okay, run the model, and then they'd say, how beautiful is this? And you'd like rate it, and they added those weights into in the model that's been released now. So this is supposed to be the more beautiful model too. But if you're asking it to generate things that the model doesn't have, like let's say the model for some reason nobody took a picture of a fish and labeled it. That was an issue I had like 5 years ago when I was trying to do a little fish tracker. Because nobody labeled fish, right? Now there's lots for the record. But if nobody's taken the time to do that manual labor and labeling, then the model will fail.
So is this repo just continuously fed more and more data as people create stuff and say, hey, this picture is what I described? Does that like reinforce the learning model or what?
I don't know if they're doing, in the public sphere, I don't know if the model is getting rebuilt like that, but it is open source. Like people can contribute to it. Did you have a question? Or, sorry.
Oh, no, I had a question. For this new one, does it have the same fail state where if they haven't tagged a picture, if it doesn't recognize it, it fails?
No, we'll dive into this.
Okay.
And then to get more on your point, it's the model's constantly being updated, and the people who are allowed to update it is growing. Does that answer?
Okay.
Yeah. It's not self-feeding right now.
I gotcha. Okay.
Cool.
Do you think you could talk through the noising and denoising again a little?
It's cool to watch.
The noising and denoising steps specifically?
Like, so, I mean, here's my understanding of what's happening. It's noising it and observing the relationships between, I guess, pixels or data points, right?
Yeah.
And then as it denoises, it then reinforces what was observed, and then it can transfer that over, and that's how like that fence picture was able to cut the person out.
Yeah, and there's some other little tricks too. If you see these gray arrows right here, do you see how this is immediately talking to this? What this is actually referring to is that this net can actually talk to a later net too. So like there's partial ways it can recombine. The other thing is this E and D I didn't even get into, but that's actually the main part of stable diffusion versus other diffusion. is this big old E and D. So what's going on is I think what they're sending is pre-noise stuff in E first, whereas other diffusion models don't do that noising step. But I'm not entirely sure, and I'm recording myself, so I'm gonna laugh in like 3 months when I'm wrong. But I think that's the main thing that is different, is this E and D are, like, pay attention to this. Also, I love that it's like, they get to use the little almost X, like that's so elegant. Anyway, so, yes. And then, yeah, these cross attentions are interesting, and yeah. Oh, and here's the conditioning step, kind of to get back to some of that modeler too. That's some of the pre-compute going on. When we're, yeah, I'm getting beyond my depth here, so read the paper. We'll read it together. Maybe we should do a workshop, like a lunch, like, let's read a paper together. I'm not even kidding, so. But I wanna look at what Faris did 3 hours ago when he was tired. Because I know I had some funny ones. Okay, so let's start with a few that I've already pre-baked that I thought were just so apropos for our group. So, cowboy in a coffee shop programming on a MacBook, had it generate 4 of these examples. You'll note that faces are creepy, to put it like. So are fingers if you look really close.
Interesting.
But the fact is, these are, they're not like, this is the closest to uncanny valley I've seen a lot of computing models, I would say.
Looks like the Letterkenny guy.
Yeah. I wonder if that's what the model was trained on too. Remember that we were just recombining other people's work. So one of the let's talk ethics while we do this. How about that? We'll integrate the ethics while we that way we can pretend we're doing something when really we're just generating cool stuff. But
So there's a huge argument about how you're stealing artists' work because you were able to replicate their style so easily, so quickly. What are
One of these
your
just
thoughts
won
on
an art
that?
competition too.
Yeah.
Somebody just won an art competition with a fully
so
human didn't do it.
who wants to try to win an art competition tonight? Because I can show you how he did it. I know the article you're referring to, and it was really straightforward. But
Was he posing it as like a painting, or was it?
he used.
It was entered as digital arts.
Do you like my digital art?
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah. This is like an SLC badge. Yeah. This is a wizard and a snake on a mountain. And we're laughing, but I fed these in yesterday.
Ooh, what happened?
Let's see, huh? Okay, and I have to find them because I went hard on this. I don't want to see how much money I've spent. Let's just open a bunch, and I think one of them will be
Nice.
And yeah,
It's just all capitals.
so this was like, you can see some of the iterations were just completely off the mark. Cowboys programming on MacBooks, like, I don't see any cowboys there. This is cowboy programming on MacBooks while riding horses.
Oh, their hands are messed up.
Yeah, hands are messed up. Yeah, I think he's supposed to be looking at his phone.
Okay.
And I think that's, if you think about the denoising step, it almost makes sense that like it tried to denoise a phone there, but didn't. Because it's like, that's not he said laptop. Anime. Character programming, hacking into a bank. I don't know. Okay, Python programming meetup held in a coffee shop in downtown Salt Lake City as anime characters. So
Wow.
some of that hair came through, it looks like. But the faces make me want to poke my eyes out.
Also, it looks like it's all guys.
Yeah, I have to say the model must have been trained. Exactly. That's an excellent ethical point. If you train a model against the biases of society, that model's going to have the biases of society. Now imagine somebody took this and it wasn't images, but credit score. And they decide they want to go into nursing. And now the model's like, no, F you, nursing, like, not like 6 out of 10, we're going to get this bad weight, so we're not going to get the good credit score. Like, there's some ethical stuff going on here. We got to fight against this black box. Oh yeah, I'm turning this group political, by the way. So, because, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Kind of.
Look at
not
the
kidding.
tiny Is that like a tiny cookie?
Look at the tiny
tiny backbook?
They're just some guy holding like this drink of diffused, and this guy needs hand surgery. It looks like a WeWork. Did anybody else notice? It looks like some industrial, even events got denoised. Interesting.
Oh my god.
Let's keep going backwards in time, and we can all laugh, and then we'll do a few.
Okay, so can I ask you, you keep saying denoise.
Whoa, that's great thing.
Yeah, I tried to do a charity fun run underwater through the lost city of Atlantis.
Nailed it.
The water looks pretty good.
I got it, and some of the features, and yes, when I'm saying denoise,
What exactly does that mean? Does it mean it's like identifying noise in other images and saying, based on what we seem to think should come out in this kind of space in other images, this is what we're going to do? Like how? What's in the black box?
the black box. I think it's more, and I think this is why composition doesn't work that well with it. But it's more, it's trying to like paint using like splotches of paint and little dots of paint, but to do it into a form, it's not like doing it like it's almost doing it like an artist would, where they like blur their eyes.
Right.
Have you ever done that when you're like trying to you blur your eyes and then you don't try to like form in? But when it unblurs, it's trying to unblur a semantic thing by combining it into where it thinks the other stuff has been combined into. Like that's the recombinant part. So I'm losing myself, so don't worry. Yeah.
So what it's doing is it's taking all these pictures and it's basically tearing them apart and then building them back together, and then eventually you just give it a prompt and it knows how to build it back from
When it builds it back together, it's using that prompt to look for cues as to what images it needs to pull in together and denoise onto what is now this image. But as it does that, it's looking at other stuff that's getting denoised. So it's like, oh, no, we don't want that. It's not going to look as good, right? Like it knows using waves, I'm anthropomorphizing an algorithm. Anyway, another fun run through the lost city of Atlantis. This one looked like, yeah. I wonder how many like Google Street Photo pictures were used in the mall.
It's interesting. I would have thought that faces would have been like one of the more. Isn't that like one of the more?
There's some tricks we'll prompt in to try to get better faces.
Gotcha.
We'll play with that. This is Einstein and Pikachu partying at Burning Man.
Dude, Einstein looks like Frank Zappa.
Yeah. This is Bulbasaur at a protest in front of City Hall. Squirtle. I was playing with Pokemon a little bit. There's some things in here. I'm sorry in advance that you can't unsee. Oh, what? It got the red part and it like the tree thing. Okay. How about let's check on. Let's do one more animation and then I think we'll call it. Who should we rip off this time? Wes Anderson? It's going to be a good grim tour. Okay, so and this one does. Oh, okay. So each one of these is the image. So it's doing 50 iterations per image. It's going to do 100 frames, so that's going to keep generating and spending the money.
Can we look at some more biases?
Sure. Let's see. Stable diffusion.
I think if you looked up a criminal, what would come up?
Oh, again, we're all adults looking this up. The only way we're going to get through any of the stuff that is facing our society today is by talking about it as adults. That's my 2 cents. And yes, I'm getting political, but I liked it. Very good. Especially us professionals, right? We're the ones who are kind of responsible. Heck yeah. Let's do 4 of them. Let's see what happens. It's like Saul Goodman is. That was a great ending. No spoilers, but oh man.
Don't.
No, I
I'm in the
won't,
middle.
but oh. You could tell the director of photography is probably like swimming in money right now. Ooh, look at that.
Oh, wow. It's like
There you
a
go.
movie
It's like a book title.
or something.
I gotta say, I'm impressed with this model.
It
It's,
looks like it's biased more by like a movie poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About a happy couple.
What about Hero?
Oh, I like happy couple. Corporate photography. Image. Where are we at? 17. Or wait, no.
Frame 60.
Oh, good eyes.
Oh,
That couple was too happy. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that joke.
Like a bit unhappy.
I think couple is just gonna be.
yeah, I think that's probably what's.
Oh no, there we go. Aw, look, he's so dirty.
With those smiles.
They're all white. Oh wait,
Oh.
these are pretty happy couples though. I mean, if the
Very
faces didn't
businessy.
make me want to try. Whatever.
Yeah.
Those faces.
I think there's a lot of Lord of the Rings images in this model, so
Sauron.
Also part of the bias.
Oh, nice.
that's actually I do my photos there.
Oh,
That's awesome. That's pretty good.
Are they fist bumping in the bottom?
Did you say that you were going to go over some stuff on how to make faces not as terrible?
Okay, so some of the tricks I've noticed were if you add portrait photography, we'll add that. If you add portrait, or if you add a lens, like length, a focal length, for some reason that tends to be. I did notice all of the wedding couples, by the way, were heterosexual. So that's notable. Oh, she has like a baby herself or something. Yeah, let's try to do a good portrait. Imagine if Ansel Adams took your yearbook photo. We're having too much fun with this, eh? This is like tangentially Python. Huh.
They're better?
They're better. They are.
That's what you said.
That one's really good.
This person does not exist.
Mhm. I don't know. Was that a prompt or you're just, I know that's a site called this
yeah,
person, but,
yeah, there's a site.
but let's just break it.
What's that site?
Called this person doesn't exist. This one came out last year, I think, and it's based on Dolly. And basically what's going on is every time you reload the page, you see a person who doesn't exist.
It's
But it looks so realistic.
That is really crazy.
Yeah.
Again, we want to talk ethics.
And you mix that with like Unreal Engine 5 and then all the, it's insane.
Do they know this person doesn't exist? I don't know.
Do you? If you saw this person in a newspaper article,
Yeah,
it said, this person, torched 10 buildings downtown. then you got
And
yourself
who's
an
to
insurance
say that
scam right
hasn't
there.
been already used that way.
Yeah, you're right.
It will be. Maybe not this election, but the next one.
I feel like it's already been used
I
this
think
way.
you're right. That's nuts, huh? Have you met this guy? He looks like a Tim from the Pacific Northwest. This is John. He lives in Sugar House with his family. Oh, this was weird. Okay, this is finished. This is the Grim preschool tour.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That is grim. Okay, I need to make this happy. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done. But yeah, so that's Stable Diffusion. I thought we'd have kind of an autumn talk today. All the references and stuff, all of the links. So for example, there's a collab notebook. There's the one I have linked that's called The Better One. Edmund Meyer is another YouTuber I found who did a really good talk about this. This is his, oh sorry.
Did you see you posted the paper on there as well?
Oh yes, I do need to post the paper on. It should be here. If you go to, oh here's something fun. Here's some pro tips. If you're designing an awesome like machine learning model, copy how they did their README because it's perfect. They have a model card. If you've never seen one of these, this is kind of a new thing where you kind of describe what the model has, but also what you need to access it, and also, I guess this one doesn't have it. Some of the model cards will dig into adversarial use and ethics, so that's kind of interesting. The paper itself is right here. Or here. Yeah. So this is the way you can get it from here. Just use ArtPix. If you're a new student, this is a lifesaver. Actually, it's funny because you should probably just use your university proxy, but if you're a graduated student and you want access to papers again, but yeah.
So they did say that the U.S.-based taxpayer papers are going to be free, right?
So
Or is
the
that
nuances of that, of what was passed, is it's not quite nothing burger, but it's like a side of nothing fries a little bit. Like there needs to be a little. It's a step. It's a really good step, but it's not going to make everything open access all of a sudden.
yeah?
Unfortunately, but I know where. Yeah.
Are you saying they're gonna be like rolling it out slowly or something?
No, I'm saying that they're only the
It's not
ruling itself only covers a very small subset of papers.
Yeah. And it's so hard to even like, because I don't have any money or anything like that, right? So just researching for free is like next to impossible.
Yeah.
Just to get legitimate information. Like $40 for this, $40 for that. I'm like,
It's crazy.
zero budget here.
Yeah. So this was. There's a YouTube video linked in here where they'll go through this collapse notebook.
Most people in science.
One of the
Oh yeah, I'd love to know my favorite stuff. If somebody emails me, I'll give them like more than I asked for. Sweet. Actually,
Yeah.
I will say it can sometimes be hard.
Yeah, this
But I was
this
also, like,
notebook's really good because it'll actually get into breaking apart some of the latents, and you can figure out exactly what that means in here. But it'll use it to tweak and then does some of the stuff that we're talking about. So what's that?
So what are implications for using this stuff commercial use-wise? Like is there restrictions behind it, or is it just a gray area because it's moving so fast that like the laws can't keep up with it, so we can just use it like the Wild West willy-nilly?
You're spot on. I would refine your statement to say it's not just the laws that can't keep up. Our philosophical conception of ethics in Western society
Right.
just cannot keep up. So how can we even codify that into law? Like we don't understand it. This is the group that is gonna codify it, right? We're gonna all go Capitol Hill. This is the law. No, but this is the discussion that we need to have.
And
Tell your friends about this.
on
stuff,
top
right?
of that, like there's in China they're already using AI judges, and like how are we gonna if it's even like 98 or 99% accuracy, there's still 1% of people that you're dooming to fail.
Yeah, and I think during COVID we learned that 1% in the law of large numbers can mean millions of people.
Exactly.
But to argue against that, real judges already do that, right? There's huge barriers.
Yeah, and real judges might do it worse compared to the AI judge,
I
right?
can't hold an AI accountable. I can barely hold judges accountable.
The same kid that judge
True.
knows.
Also, there's probably like a skeptical side of where, whoever's behind this, that, or the other, that they truly had the best intentions to, like, again, not have the biases, not have their intentions behind. Everybody has their own biases that they put into whatever they're making or whoever's paying for what they're making.
Part of me wanted to not give this talk. It was like, what if I just keep it to myself? What if somebody in this room turns out to be like an extremist in some way and I've now inspired them to do something horrible to society? I hope not. But it's out there. That's what the Pandora's box is open. Like, it's there now. Dolly to the group that was behind that, smart folks, but I think the open computing people, like, first off, dumb name. They weren't open. They were like closed.
Yeah, it was supposed to be democratize AI for everyone, and then there's like a huge paywall, and access to it. You have to get approved for it.
Yes, you need to get approved. You don't need to get approved for this. And I think the approval is a bit naive. I think that what's being done here, the democratization, is like, oh, no, I can't remember the name. What's the name of that utilitarian prison that has the light in the center and all the prisoners?
Panopticon.
The Panopticon. That's the model that's being used right now, partially to enforce that I'm not typing in stuff like Hillary Clinton's emails, right? Or something like that that's going to trigger somebody who's maybe not intelligent enough to differentiate between AI models and human-generated. Oh wait, who am I to say that? I can't tell the difference sometimes. So we have to be careful with this stuff.
And it's going to be harder and harder to tell
It will.
the difference every
And
single day.
perhaps maybe in a year we'll be like, instead of Molotov cocktails, we'll put it together like little toolkits to like detect adversarial AI. Because we'll be like, yeah, my friends and family think that like lizard people are controlling the Utah House.
So that's one thing too, is I think with the previous election, there were Class 3 super weapons used against a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we'll ever be able to protect against that, but this is the inoculation. This is the extent I think we'll ever have a vaccine against adversarial AI.
Yeah, I feel like our future is going to be like where we're building our own like defense artificial intelligence models to like kind of discern truth from fiction, because like otherwise how are we going to stay in a stable society if we're just running on completely different realities?
But that's part of the hope also, right, is that side of things can keep up with it, and that the mentality of people does sort of change. And like our grandparents' generation had the working mind. There's a chance, probably a likely chance, that like our generation can't evolutionary keep up because we have the same evolutionary genes as our grandparents, but our grandparents had the mindset, not much changed for my grandparents to me, versus like our generation forward, we're very aware that
exponential change is happening, and it's so hard to keep up.
Yeah, I like that Daniel's question a lot of like, how is there something I could plug an image in and see potential prompt text? Like, I have a feeling that's going to be perhaps something that is the responsibility of a good journalist to start doing, right? Like, oh, I got this sick photo, and if this is what I think it is, then it's like going to change the world, so I should run it past an algorithm first. Like, that's going to be almost a standard of practice, but it won't be one until we codify it as a society, until we say, hey, like, by the way, sometimes people get misdirected, and mark my words, I don't think it's going to be proactive. It's going to be something reactive. There's going to be some event where a lot of people get fooled and stay fooled, and then it'll be, the big reveal, and some people will be like, oh yeah. Unfortunately, larger than like 5% of some of these people are going to say, oh no, this is still the truth, even when the truth is revealed that like this was an AI thing. I don't know what it'll look like. Be on the lookout for it. Call it out. This has been one of the best talks I think we've had as a group. Just it's back and forth. Not to toot my own horn.
A question on, so you're saying if you try to do anything nefarious here, like a community is made aware of someone doing something, but isn't there a way you
There's
can
ways
go
around to that
and
though.
make,
Yeah.
like,
You
fake
can
account?
copy your own repo of it and run it locally.
You can make another email.
So there's
Yeah.
no like checking to a phone number, like let's see if you're a real person.
Well, even with phone numbers, there's ways
Right,
around
but
that.
any attempt to do that.
Did you ever read the Adalis Substack? When GPT-3 first came out, it's ADOLOS, but the guy got GPT-3 to write out an entire blog and posted like 20, 30 posts, got one of them to the top of HackerRank News.
Wow.
He ran it for like 6 or 9 months before no one ever caught him. He just finally came out and said, hey, I've been doing this and nobody caught me. No one said anything.
Yeah.
So, and that was
That's wild.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, I've used OpenAI to like help me write books.
Nice. Sorry, not nice, perfect, but nice. Like,
But you still have like it's not a very good editor. There's a bunch of mistakes and stuff like that. So, I mean, it depends on like the level of intelligence and like you're writing for, or your audience, stuff like that. I mean, it's good with audience. Like it can discern like fourth graders from high schoolers and stuff like that. But it's still not polished. You have to do a lot of editing yourself.
I like this. This is a very good way to end it. Phase shift into era of human AI art collab. I think what you're touching on with the tool side of things, the fact that we're taking heartbeats of our life, minutes of our life to actually sit down and come up with art and say, hey, this looks better, or this doesn't look good. That kind of selection itself, is that art? Is this a new paintbrush?
I feel like it is. For me, I've been waiting for this type of technology for like eons in my dreams. Because I'm a lucid dreamer, so I've built worlds in my sleep, and I want those worlds to actually exist.
Yeah.
Might be weird, but would an analogy be if you had a room of 1 million monkeys typing on 1 million typewriters, and you went through and read through and found, hey, this one seems interesting. Did you perform art, or did the monkey perform the art, or
Yeah.
who's making art?
Part of it's like you're culling the monkeys that aren't making good enough stuff.
Right, yeah. And is that selection the process of art? And is that what an artist does, is just get rid of nasty thoughts?
Yeah.
Or less artful thoughts?
Is a beehive conscious,
Wow.
or the individual bees conscious? This is, I think this is going to be one of the most interesting next few years, by the way, in our space. So we'll keep tabs on it. If there are more developments in this space, we'll do probably another talk, but we'll be back to our old more Python examples soon. I saw this, I was like, let's do this. Speaking of which, is anybody interested in giving a talk? And the reason I'm going to be shifting into this flow of like pushing y'all to give talks is PyCon's going to be in Salt Lake City next year. So you'll have no excuse to like travel or anything. You should give a talk here, practice it on us, and then we'll diffuse it into something that needs to be like your Python talk.
I would love to do a talk on Circuit Python. Would anybody like to help? Because I would love some assistance. We'll meet up tomorrow.
Was that, remind me, what, Jeremy? Right? No,
Yeah,
Kevin.
Jeremy and Kevin.
Kevin.
I'm Kevin.
Kevin.
Yep.
Do you have a MicroPython microcontroller?
Yes.
Okay. Otherwise I could give you one, but otherwise I'll give this one away to somebody else. So. Okay. I can help you with that a little bit. I can also get you in touch with Nina, who gave the headliner talk at PyCon.
Yeah, just
Okay.
I'm working on some stuff that I'm not sure is supported in libraries yet. So
Send me a Slack.
Okay.
Any other speakers? Or anybody else?
If it's of interest, I do a talk on using Python to build passwordless logins.
Remind me your name.
Drew.
Hit me up on the Slack. Does everybody know how to get to the Slack? It's kind of hidden. You go to our Meetup, and you're like, oh, so like Python. Although it won't say groups you organize, I think. And then you click this read more, and then you'll see the Slack. So it's kind of. Is this one? Okay. Anybody else interested in giving their talk?
Yeah, on BB84, the encryption algorithm.
Is that the quantum one?
Yeah.
Cool. Bioinformatics, it sounds like we've had some, so we're just gathering topics that people might be interested in. I could give a talk on GeoDjango if we really wanted, or Intro to Django. There's a link right there of a previous talk I gave the first time we came to the U. So that's been some time ago, so it's really old. Profiling Python, any other topics of interest to folks in this group? We can't do stable diffusion all the time, unless we did our own group for it, but then. Blender? Is anybody a Blender expert? Oh, damn. I recruit
I
you?
would love to learn to make 2D images to 3D images on Blender. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Just or using Python or not.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I know it's pretty straightforward. There's a great YouTube where they just take a picture and you just start sketching it out.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I got it. Anyway. Okay. Housekeeping, couple things. So, if you did bring pizza into the room, I didn't see it. But please make sure you clean up after yourself, like not a single crumb. I want to keep using this space. And then PyCon's coming up next year. I will evangelize the crap out of it. I think that if you don't want to speak, you should volunteer. Let's make our little old city look pretty good. And yeah, thanks for making it out here. This is so good to be back in this room. And let's raffle. Boom. If you don't have a name tag with a number on it, please raise your hand. No? Okay, good. And who has a number bigger than 25? Check your number. No? Bigger than 20. No, I could have sworn we got to 20. No? What's the highest number that we got to?
I got 14.
15 maybe?
6, 9, 11, 15.
15? Anybody have a higher number than 15? You're going to be outside this. Okay, you're programming. I'm 0. All right, so, okay, we'll give away the microcontroller. Stickers, I'm going to put up here at the front, at the end. People can feel free. These are from the last PyCon. So if you want to grab some stickers, please feel free. And we have students here. I was going to give these away, but these are going to go to our students. So our 2 students. Do that real quick. And I'll bring these to you. And sorry, they're kind of doubly punched. And you look like the smartest people on campus just holding that. All around. Get on the campus shuttle. All right. Cool. Our only winner of the night is number 12.
Sweet.
Yay! Oh, Jeremy. Yeah, we'll have more. These are getting harder to find. But I think I'm going to try to get the Halloweens in for. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. This is what I'm going to try to order with our funds. Yeah. So this thing runs Python. It's pretty awesome. Is it not animating? Come on, animate. There it goes. Okay, so that is a Python microcontroller. You just code.py, like you copy code.py onto this as if it's a USB stick, and it'll run Python. So I'll get a few of these for us. They've gone up in price. They used to be 25. Has like a accelerometer in it, light sensor. Each one of these little teeth you can touch, and it'll be an input. You can put alligator clips. Yeah. We should get that MicroPython talk going, right? All right. And then our next meetup is, need a calendar. Our next meetup's the 5th. So I will see people on the 5th. Thanks again, everybody. Oh,
Can I real quickly plug another meetup?
plugging another meetup.
Tomorrow at 801 Labs, they're meeting up to do like cybersecurity, security, anything that would be connected to hacking, red teaming, blue teaming, anything like that. So Google it, 801 Labs, come on by. It's pretty fun.
Thank you very much. Sweet.
Also, did anybody catch the Python at the point thing on algo trading?
No.
I caught the last one, but I wasn't able to.
So I have these invites for filter up. I'll put them on back here.
Markets not trading here.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Oh, okay.
That's great.
I mean, I'd still be curious.
Because the old algorithms work in the Turkey markets, but they don't work in these markets because how the butts are
That's you good?
exactly.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, probably.
Dude, I hope. I heard Chip is doing.
Yeah, I saw an article that was talking about
Yeah.
AI generation. And there's